Hi, I'm Judy Litt. Welcome to your hip strength and stability workout. This is a quickie, and that doesn't mean that it's easy. It's all standing. I actually do suggest that you do a warm-up first. I thought about adding a quick warm-up on, but I will just link up one that I have on the channel already. You're going to need 2 blocks and come to face the short end of your mat, coming towards one end of the mat, and come into Tadasana, mountain pose. And we're not just standing there, right? We're not just slouching and standing. We're really feeling into our feet on the pinky toe side, on the big toe side, on the heels. We're getting to draw the kneecaps up, activating the legs, beginning to draw the abs in. Inhale, bring your shoulders up towards your ear and then let them fall down. And lastly, hands turn out, externally rotating from your shoulder. This is Tadasana. So you're really active. The legs are really active. The arms are active. The core is active. And the reason I'm going over that today is because you're going to find this in several of our poses, really in all of our poses. So just take a couple of breaths here. Maybe set an intention for your practice. And then take your hands to your hips, turn to face the long end of your mat, and take a big step out, as wide as you can go, and then bring your toes to point towards each other. We're internally rotating our hips. We don't do this a lot in our everyday life, but it helps to really strengthen those hips. And most of us want strong hips. They're very important. So I'd like you to inhale, grow longer. Exhale, begin to fold forward. Right hand comes under your face, left hand comes up on an inhale, reaching for that ceiling, opening up your heart. Inhale, exhale, other side. Right arm reaches for the ceiling, pressing the mat away, abs are engaged. Exhale, bring your hands to your hips. From the strength of your core, begin to bring yourself upright slowly and let that go. Take your right foot, your front foot, and point it straight towards the short end of your mat. And notice where that back foot is. You want it to be approximately what they call heel to arch alignment. So this heel to that arch. And you want it to be turned in slightly once again, roughly a 30-45 degree angle. This is the beginning of Warrior 2, Virabhadasana 2. I just murdered that. Go ahead and bend the right knee, making sure that knee stays over your ankle. And again, like I just talked about in Tadasana, legs are very active. You are pressing into the front foot. You are pressing into that back foot. These abs are engaged. We're not leaning forward. We're trying to grow that spine longer. And on your next inhale, take your arms out, reaching for the short end of your mat, front and back, and then gaze over your front hand. Warrior 2. If you've ever attended a Hatha Yoga or Vinyasa yoga class, you have practiced Warrior 2, I'm relatively sure. On your next inhale, take your left arm back to your left thigh, turn your palm up towards the ceiling, and then on an inhale, bring it up and over your head. Again, we're still bending that front knee. We're still really active through our legs. We're active through our arms too. Inhale, come up into Warrior 2 briefly. Bend your right arm, take it to your right thigh. Your left arm peels back along your body. And then once you're comfortable, you can inhale that Left arm up and over your head and begin to open your heart up towards the ceiling. Extended side angle. Really reaching from your left foot all the way up through your left hand. Inhale. Warrior two. What are you fighting for? What are your goals? Exhale. Hand drops back to your thigh, front arm comes up and over your head. What do you need to get rid of? What do you need to let go to reach those goals? Inhale up into warrior two. Bend that front arm. Back arm goes back along the thigh. And maybe inhale it up over your head. One last time. Inhale up into warrior two. Reverse warrior. Extended side angle. Hopefully you have your blocks by the top of your mat, like I do. Exhale. Take your hand to your hip. Inhale up. And then begin to walk the back foot up. We are coming into Ardha Chandrasana, half moon pose. This is a challenging pose for a lot of people, including myself. I highly suggest you have blocks to hold on to. I've watched videos from some of the teachers I respect, who are great yogis, far better than I am. They still use blocks. So you're basically in a very short crescent lunge here. Your left leg, you're on the big toe mound of your foot. Really bringing energy into those legs. Beginning to bend forward, bring the abs in, reaching for that block that's a little off to the side and in front of you, gazing down at the floor in front of you, and bring that back leg up. Foot is flexed. Imagine that you're pushing into a wall. And this is warrior three. And then very slowly, keeping your gaze down at the floor, begin to open up. Externally rotate so that your hip is facing out towards the side. Hand is on the hip. And the head is the last thing to gaze forward. Now you can also, you can keep a little bend in your standing leg. Don't lock out the knee. And you can, at the end, if you're comfortable, raise that left arm. Everything is active. Your arms, your abs, your legs, your hips. You are toning your entire body here. Inhale, exhale, bring that arm back to your hip. Slowly turn your head to gaze back at the floor. Let your hip rotate internally again and slowly bend that right knee, bringing the left leg back. Whew. Step forward into Tadasana. When we started, you thought this was a lot of work, didn't you? And now it's a resting pose. And I want you to just look down at your feet and notice where your toes are pointing. They should be pointing straight ahead. And that is a little tip for all the poses. Unless I tell you differently, your toes should be straight, pointing straight ahead. And let's just take a couple of breaths here, letting go of that effort. And of course we have to do the second side. So come to face the long end of your mat again. I'm going to take a block and I'm going to move it to the back of my mat. You can just turn around, but if I turn around you can't see very well what I'm doing. And another great tip for practicing half moon pose, two great tips. You can do it on your mat. So before we go into the second side, you can do it basically coming into a side plank, kneeling on one knee, hand is in line with that knee, coming on to your toes, curling your toes to give you a little stability, and then you just raise that back leg. So if the standing version is too tough for you, not too tough, too challenging, you're not quite there yet, you can always take this, and then you can raise your arm. And this is a good way to start, really, because then you can really feel the shape in your body. Okay. All right. Second side. Okay. Inhale your legs apart as wide as they're going to go, facing the long end of your mat, hips face forward, and then bring your toes in to face each other, so you're slightly pigeon-toed. Inhale, lengthen through your spine. Exhale, begin to bend over. You can always use a block here. Hands come down towards the mat. After some effort in the low back, this should feel good in your low back. Take your right hand towards the center. Inhale your left arm up towards the ceiling, opening up that heart. Now you know why we're doing this. To get you prepared for half moon pose. Bring that hand down. Second side. Opening, really opening as much as you can. Maybe putting a smile on your face. Exhale down. Hands come to your hips. Inhale. Slowly begin to raise your torso up towards the ceiling. And you can let that go. Excuse me. I have to think about which foot I used. So I used the right foot, or rather your left. Okay. All right. So take your left foot, toes point towards the short end of the mat. Nice wide stance. Heel to arch alignment if that is comfortable in your body. Your hips are pointing straight towards, or roughly straight towards, the long end of your mat. And your back foot is about a 30 to 45 degree angle. Legs are very active. Begin to bend that left knee, making sure that the knee is over the ankle. Then pushing into both your front and your back foot. You might feel your thighs, your inner thighs begin to lift. You may feel your spine begin to grow longer. Remember, that's what we're after, growing longer, not coming forward. Inhale, both arms up. Feel as if somebody is holding on to each hand, pulling those arms apart. Maybe even slightly pinch those shoulder blades together, opening up across your chest, looking back and forward, seeing if your arms are level. Inhale, come into reverse warrior. Exhale, side angle. Couple more times. Inhale your left hand up and over. Exhale, left arm bends and comes down onto your thigh. Inhale the right arm up and over. Feeling that line of energy from your fingers all the way to that back foot. Inhale up into warrior two briefly. Reverse warrior. Back up into warrior two. And then exhale, extended side angle. Make any little adjustments you need. And then inhale back up into warrior two. Hands come to your hips. Begin to straighten that front leg and begin to walk the back leg in. Take your block out a little bit from your foot and a little bit forward. Sometimes you need to play with the placement of the block. Come up onto the toes of your back foot. And sometimes you have to play with your balance. Okay. And now your hips are pointing towards the short end of your mat. And as you begin to push through that back leg, really draw your abs in, flex that back foot, slight micro bend in the front foot, and when you feel comfortable, begin to slowly, yep, not happening for me, It's often that one side is easier than the other. Slowly begin to rotate open. And I'm having a hard day. Some days are just like that. Okay. That's the secret, I think. My block was too far ahead. Okay. Oh, no, no. Doesn't matter how many times you fall. All right, really flex that back foot. And perhaps reach for the sky. Abs pull in. Hand comes to hip. Turn your head down. Your leg rotates in. And step back. And come back to Tadasana. Let that go. So there you have it. It's not just yoga students. Yoga teachers can really struggle with this too. And come back into Tadasana. Let that effort go. Take a few deep breaths. I actually filmed this practice a while ago, and then I just couldn't cue correctly. I kept calling poses the wrong names. And a lot of times I will leave mistakes in, obviously, because yoga teachers are human. We're all human. But that one was just beyond repair. So I decided to refilm it, and this is what you get. A great half moon on one side, and the other one, I really struggled to hold on to it. That's why they call yoga a practice. You're going to have days where you get into poses, and it just flows, and it feels great, and you don't wobble. And then there are days where you can't balance to save your life, and that's okay. It's a practice. It's meant to be different day to day. Thank you so much for joining me. This is a great great practice to do several times a week to keep your hips really strong. And as we get older, that is so important. I can't impress that upon you enough. I hope you enjoyed this practice. If you had a good laugh at me, that is perfectly okay. If you liked it, go ahead and click the like button. And I will see you in the next practice.